Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that I will continue to sleep on bed naked as long as his friend keeps barging into the room? My F29, husband's M34, best friend, Jacob, M30 moved in with us. He is quiet and does not make a mess around the house like brother-in-law used to while he lived with us. However, Jacob has this habit of walking into the bedroom randomly to take stuff from my husband's closet. Say a watch or a shirt. He does it more frequently and it has gotten increasingly annoying. I felt like my privacy was being violated because I am a private person. I would like to have quiet time reading or mediate. I tried to speak up on the issue but got brushed off by both of them. Last week, Jacob barged in at 11 p.m. and interrupted my sleep. I was sleep deprived the whole day at work. I got fed up, so what I had decided to do is start sleeping on top of the bed full naked whenever I am in there. Last night, Jacob walked in at 10 p.m. while I was there, and when he saw me, he let out a loud "Shit" and quickly turned around and rushed out. I started hearing a commotion outside, so I got dressed to see what was going on. I was met with a lot of yelling and scolding and shaming from my husband, saying I was out of line to expose his brother to such horrendous sight. I asked what he meant and he yelled at me to stop acting dumb. I said I felt frustrated after my privacy got violated, and he went on about how Jacob was only there to grab something, which literally takes seconds. Then went on about how I made him uncomfortable while describing my behavior as SL*TTY. The argument got heated and he told me to start putting some decent clothes on and act like a lady instead of AS*guilty, since it is his room too and he already gave permission. I got mad and told him loudly that I will keep sleeping on bed naked as long as his friend keeps walking into the room, then I walked off. He did not stop complaining, saying I am being ridiculous, and even suggested that this was an attempt for me to make Jacob move out. Am I the a-hole? We are still arguing about it till this morning. Edit: he said he did not call me that word directly but said he was just comparing my behavior to that of AS*guilty. The top comment is, not the a-hole. I was out of line to expose his brother to such horrendous sight. After this comment, you would not be the a-hole if you were to never allow your husband to see you naked ever again, since you're such a horrendous sight. The second comment is, not the a-hole. But it sounds like you have a husband problem. He should care that his friend keeps going into the bedroom. And how is you being naked a horrendous sight? That is terrible of him to even say that and take his friends. Am I the a-hole because I did not tell my roommates I own the house and letting them evict themselves? I, F28, own a house. I wish I didn't because I inherited it from my grandmother, whom I would prefer to have back. It is an older house in a mature neighborhood in my city. It has a huge yard, a garden, and a detached garage large enough for a couple of cars and an RV. It also has an in-law suite where I live. I started living there when I started university and I love it. My exit leads to the backyard and my garden. After the estate was all settled, I was left with a little money and a fully paid off house. I am the baby of all the cousins and I was an oops baby. I am 17 years younger than the next youngest. I decided that I would keep living in my area and just take on short-term renters to help me cover expenses. I also plan to allow any of my nieces and nephews who went to school in my city live with me. So far only my one nephew has, and he was well behaved and moved out when he finished school. I found a couple that wanted the entire upper floor for 1 year while they got settled from moving across the country for work. No big deal. I have 3 nibblings graduating the next year and only one might go to school in my city. So I let my property manager set up a 1-year lease. My city does not have a minimum rental increase. This is important. So after 6 months the problems start. The wife got pregnant. And they like the house. They have not found a house they want to buy. They want to keep living here. But they do not want a roommate. So one day the husband catches me and says that he has talked to the property manager about renting the entire house and that I might want to start looking elsewhere for a place to live. I check with my guy and yup, he wants the whole house. So I talk to my lawyer because I don't want any problems. As long as the increase is 1 year after tenancy and I give 3 months notice, there is literally no limit on the rental increase. So I tell my property manager to raise the rent for the ground level 50%. They have 5 months notice of a rental increase, so I am in the clear. Now I can hear them fighting about having to find a new place. Which I don't get because I was clear in the lease that it was only for 1 year. And I gave them a good price because they had excellent credit and rental history. The real estate market in my city isn't crazy. They should be able to find something to buy in time. Or at the very least somewhere else to rent. I have talked to my parents about this and they said I'm being sort of mean. I don't think I am. I have a plan for my home and it does not involve me moving out. I have a garden that I worked with my grandmother my entire life. I have a yard with raspberry bushes my grandfather planted for his kids and grandkids. My dog likes having a yard to play in. I could have told them it's my home, but it's not their business. Am I the a-hole? The top comment is, not the a-hole. I wouldn't want tenants bothering me either, so I understand not wanting them to know you own the property. You don't owe them or anyone else continued residency in your house. The second comment is not the a-hole. The audacity of your tenant to just tell you to move out. Him just assuming that he somehow had the right to push you out is a ***holish. You didn't cause the fight between him and his wife. If they want a bigger space, they can search for a new rental and move out. They have 5 months, which is more than enough time to find a new place. Am I the a-hole for being honest that my dad made me pay for my own art lessons as a kid, which is now causing him to be made fun of at work and lose some of his work friends? I'm a 15F. My mom and dad divorced when I was a baby. I spend most of my time with my mom and every other weekend with my dad. When I was in elementary/middle school, I went to an art class hosted by Mrs. Annie on Saturdays. In 4th grade, I asked my dad if I could go on his weekends too, and he told me that if I wanted to go on his weekends, then I would need to cover both the cost of each lesson, $12 for 4 hours, plus $5 to contribute towards the DirecTV recording feature since he had to miss his TV shows to take me. I was able to go 3 times on his days using money I had saved from holidays. I told my mom that I was sad because I didn't have any more money left to be able to go to Mrs. Annie's on Dad's weekend. My mom didn't realize Dad was making me pay for my own lessons and flipped out at him. From then on, she would pick me up on his Saturdays for art class. We haven't had time to go Mrs. Annie's since I got into high school, but I still do art and go to online lessons whenever I have the chance. Dad had a party at the house with a bunch of people from his work. I thanked him for dinner. He said he wanted me to stay at the table and talk to his work friends, but I told him that I needed to finish a school project and went to my room. Later, one of Dad's work's friends came up to me and told me that I should have done what my dad wanted me to and I should have more gratitude towards my dad because on top of raising and supporting me, he's the reason why I'm an amazing artist. Dad showed his work friends my art and said that I was an amazing artist because of him and all the expensive art lessons that he paid for. I told the work friend that my dad has never paid for any of my art lessons, and how when I was a 4th grader he refused to take me to art lessons unless I paid the $12 fee myself and gave him $5 to contribute to the DirecTV recording feature. His friend apologized for the misunderstanding and I forgot about it until Dad started lecturing me last week. The work friend told all the other coworkers that Dad never paid for my art lessons and tried making me pay for them. Some of his coworkers now only talk to him for business reasons, but most of them are making fun of him and saying stuff like ahole, that's so expensive. But we can have OP save up her lunch money so she can cover it, right Daniel? My dad. My grandma and Dad's girlfriend agree with Dad because I'm not owed art lessons and me being bitter about it is no reason to try and mess up his work reputation with what I said. My mom and stepdad said that I did nothing wrong and Daniel shouldn't have told lies in the first place. My sister Tori said my dad deserved to be embarrassed anyway. Tori hasn't talked to Dad in a long time. So now I'm conflicted about if I should have said what I did to Dad's work friend. Edited for clarity, Dad's coworker came up to me while I was refilling my water bottle in the kitchen/living room area. It felt weird that he said anything at all to me, but he never came into my room. The top comment is not the a-hole. Dad's a cheapskate, and a crappy parent, and a liar, so why should you be trying to maintain his reputation? Also, I just wanna say work friends got an inflated sense of ego, to come up to your room and tell you that you should be a better, more grateful kid to your dad. You didn't lie, you just told the sad truth. Dad should have kept his mouth shut instead of getting braggy. The second comment is not the a-hole. You cleared up a misunderstanding. How were you supposed to know that your dad's tiny ego couldn't handle the truth? Just because everyone sees his behavior as gross, doesn't mean yours is. You told the truth to someone who had made a wrong assumption. In what universe does that make you TA? Am I the a-hole for not kicking my best friend out of my wedding after she spilled a drink on my sister-in-law at my wedding? Around 3 months, I, 25F, got married to husband 27M. I've been hearing about this from my ILs nonstop. My husband has younger sister, Alice, 22F, who in my opinion is a total brat. Alice had some type of childhood sickness, but she overcame it, however his parents were extremely lenient with her to the point where she cannot be corrected in any form without it being a big deal. She has been let go from multiple jobs because of this and she doesn't have many friends, and always has to be the center of attention. At my other sister-in-law's birthday, their parents got Alice a gift just in case she got jealous. I am only child, and the only sisterly figure I have has to be my best friend Marie. We met in 3rd grade, and since we're both only children, we instantly clicked. We are fiercely protective of each other. Husband and I decided to have a summer wedding, and to my surprise, Alice shows up wearing a lacy white dress. If you told me she picked this out of a wedding catalog, I would have believed you. Between the wedding and the main reception, we had a cocktail hour. People kept asking me about Alice, and I was becoming visually annoyed. A lot of people thought she was my husband's ex instead of his sister. I could tell the situation was pissing Marie off, and I watched Marie walk over to my husband's family, greet them, and on her way back she tripped and fell by Alice, while holding a glass full of red wine. Alice ran into the bathroom, with mother-in-law following her, and his dad came up to us and started to demand that Marie leave. I told them no, Marie is a lightweight and it was a mistake. Husband backed me up and said that since Marie is thin she can't handle as much alcohol, but we'd make sure she sobered up before the reception. At the reception, Alice was wearing a beautiful green dress brought to you by Ross, and Marie magically felt better. My in-laws have been bringing up the incident non-stop, but I have a hard time feeling bad, even though I know it wasn't an accident. The top comment is, not the a-hole and your best friend is awesome. This is what it's about. Do not feel bad or guilty at all. Your in-laws need to quit coddling their brat that they created, and they need to quit being so childish to still bring this up. You should tell them to grow up and move on. Kudos to your hubby for backing you up. The second comment is, not the a-hole, your in-laws created a monster and your friend was just fixing the white dress issue. Everyone knows you don't wear a white dress to a wedding. Clearly they had a backup dress, so what's the problem? The third comment is, the in-laws need to let it go. They approved of Alice wearing white, knew it was wrong enough that she had a backup dress ready, yet still want to labor the point. Firmly let them know how inappropriate her dress was and the comments you were getting from the other guests. It was simply unfortunate that Marie had an accident before you were able to ask her to leave and change before the reception. Marie deliberately picked a fancy white dress to stand out at a wedding. Of course it was going to get damaged. Way to go, Marie. I don't care about suing for damages. People who deliberately wear white to a wedding take the risk of damage or being denied entry.